Hello and welcome to today's video. This time I'm taking you on my journey where I recently picked up a collection of vintage paperbacks. Now this is something a little bit special and I was really surprised at just how much I ended up coming away with. Only a small part of the collection, but certainly some really excellent stuff, and I was able to film pretty much the entire thing. So hope you're going to enjoy this one. So sit back, relax, and let's get to it. Well, it's the morning of the 9th of December and I'm about to head off into Cornwall. So I'm meeting my friend book dealer Morris from All You Need Is Books, Zardos Books, and we're going to look at a collection which has been amassed over many decades. Now, sadly, the Penguin part of the collection has already been bought by another dealer, so there's not likely to be any Penguin stuff at all left. However, that still leaves, I imagine, at least about 7,000 books and related bits and pieces for us to have a look through. And I'm bound to see some other nice early stuff in there, which hopefully I can get a bit of alongside Morris. So I'm about to set off. It's about 45 minutes from where I live, so not far. It makes a change not having to go 5 hours to Manchester and then 5 hours back. So quite nice that it's pretty much on my doorstep. And well, I'm really looking forward to seeing what we see there. I've no idea if the person who now is looking after the books is even going to be up for me to film it, but it will be lovely to record the books in situ before we end up buying them. So well, I'll next time I see you, it'll probably be, well, it might well be us actually loading up the vehicle, so fingers crossed on that one. Okay, so here we are, and I turned up about an hour before Morris, and I had a cup of coffee with the original owner's son. So the collection belonged to a chap called Eric Gadd, and Eric was in his early 90s when he passed away recently, and I had a cup of coffee with his son, and when he pretty much confirmed what I sort of heard about Eric over the years. So Eric worked for Cadbury's up in Birmingham, and then moved down to Cornwall, and he got an HGV license and was able to, I think he did some coach driving and things like that, and bus driving. So he went all around the country, and the story I'd always heard, which was correct, was that when he was out and about around the country, he would drop off his passengers, I suppose, and then go book hunting. He also bought a lot through the post as well. And I think what I found when I started looking through this was he wasn't just a lover of vintage paperbacks and books, but anything that was printed, really, just, the printed item. And what we're seeing here, this series of drawers is like, I think it was designed for shirts in a retail fashion outlet. It's a beautiful piece of furniture, and Eric filled it up with these sort of period magazines, copies of The Strand there, some P.G. Wodehouse issues. They didn't go back too far, the Strand ones. There's none of the Conan Doyle ones there, but there were plenty there to be had. And, exactly what you would sort of expect, really, boy's own. I mean, it really was quite the mixture. And I took the opportunity, and I was very grateful to be allowed to film. There was certainly a percentage of this sort of stuff, something like, the Journal of Agriculture. Don't know really what that was doing there. It doesn't really have any sort of value. It just is what it is, really, isn't it? It is just a nice period item. The Journal of the Chemical Society. I mean, yeah, not sure about that. I guess they're fascinating magazines to look through. But does anyone actually even collect them? I don't know. A few odd issues of Punch there. Some anniversary ones. And some old catalogues and things like that there. They're quite nice, and we see a few more of those later on. It's in fact, here they are. The Dennis Wheatley. These were ones where these came out in the 30s. And they were filled with lots of bits and pieces in little envelopes and stuff. And you had to work out who the murderer was. And Yeah, they're quite fun. These are very, very popular in their day. They had huge print runs, and they were reprinted again in the 90s in facsimile form. So they're not particularly scarce, but it's lovely to see the original ones. And as I said, they're filled with bits and pieces. I think they're really nice. But yeah, as you can see, all sorts of things in there. And later on, we're going to have a look around the collection first of all. We'll see it in situ. Then we'll see Morris and I sort of filling a few box loads. Morris takes us through some particularly nice books that he discovered. And you'll see what I ended up bringing back from the collection. I bought like 5% of what was left, so definitely not a lot. I just came along really to keep Morris company and pick up a few bits and pieces for myself. As I mentioned at the start, the Penguin part of the collection had already been sold to a dedicated Penguin dealer, so that part of it has been done. But as I expected, there was loads and loads of other stuff of interest. If you like vintage paperbacks, which I do, not just Penguin. So there was loads there that I was fascinated by and stuff I'd never seen before. And that's always a good thing. A Strand souvenir for the coronation in 1937. Just incredible, isn't it? All sorts of stuff. That's all sorts of stuff dotted around the house. Very, very interesting indeed. Sexton Blake annuals. There's 4 of those that were published, and all 4 were there. I'm not sure if they're supposed to have spines, illustrated spines, but nice to see. This was right at the top, overlooking the Alice in Wonderland poster, is a bookcase of Agatha Christie, predominantly Agatha Christie, unrelated. I think that was one of Eric's favourite authors, so pretty much the full run was there. You will notice that dotted around on the shelves and sort of all over the place is tobaccoania, so cigarette packets, matchbox or boxes of matches, pipes. Apparently Eric had a collection of 500 ashtrays, none of which is of interest to me. So this is just before we go into the main collection. So this, to me, this is sort of outside the main collection room. And this stuff was, I believe, Eric's seconds, reprints, or doubles, just sort of his overflow, really, that isn't part of the main collection. So I had a good look through here. There was obviously magazines and things like that as well. And quite the collection it is. And although sometimes it's a bit difficult to see some of this stuff spine on, there was so much of it. That was amazingly the only albatross I saw. So like a lot of collections, any paperback collector, certainly someone who's collected as long as Eric has, and we reckon it was 50 years plus, would have come across a handful of albatross just in the normal course of things, as I have, without really tracking them down. So it doesn't look like he was that keen on anything overseas. So there doesn't appear to be foreign editions of any of these books at all. There's no American paperbacks. It is very, very much British, which is fine. I suppose you've got to draw the line somewhere. But yeah, an awful lot of stuff. And not all of it that accessible. There was a ladder in there as well. So you could, with a stretch, get up and access it. But it's like, almost like, where do you start? It's someone's lifetime of collecting. And it was well organised, as you can see. This was his, fairly small hardback selection. It was predominantly paperbacks was his thing, but there were this selection of a few hardbacks. Nothing really stood out for me there. And lots of other stuff. I said these were his seconds, so that's some Muth and Sixpennies, those blue spined ones, which I love. but they were the doubles. The main run was inside. And we do see runs of. There was a few pans there. Now these were the doubles again. I expected a lot more pan in Eric's collection, but he's got about the first 125 in absolutely tip-top condition. Really, really nice copies. With many in dust wrappers as well. Some of the rare dust wrapper ones, so that was good. But this is still before we go into the main collection room. And magazines and all sorts really out here. As you can see, it said lots of like boxes of matches and things like that. They're being used as like bookends in effect. It's quite good. Keep stuff stood up. Now there were some penguins, as we'll see in a minute. Some reasonably early private eyes. I go back to like the early 1980s, those ones. Old radio chimes there, but very, very low grade. And yet more of those Dennis Wheatleys. They must be the doubles. I think the ones upstairs, maybe they were his main collection. There were some doubles there. So this was the penguins that were left, and I checked, obviously, all the green ones, and every single book there was a reprint. So all the firsts had been taken home. The reprint's not worth so much money, or very little money at all. I did pick up a couple of those copies of Ariel, though, because I do collect that in its many guises, and although reprints, they were very, very nice condition. But yeah, all those penguins were reprint editions. And I have since found out that, as well as the penguin collection that was sold, about 10 years ago, prior to this, maybe a little bit longer, I'm still researching it, I've got all the paperwork, but it appears as if Eric actually had a second complete penguin collection of at least the first 1,000, with some really nice promotional posters and things like that, and catalogues. So when I know a bit more about that, I'll mention it in one of my monthly pickups. Anyway, here we are. So this is Eric's main library. And he did something very interesting, which I've never seen anyone actually do before. There was these big sheets of perspex, and they were sort of sat on top of the bookcases, and they sort of stayed in place, which kept the books from getting dusty. A very, very clever idea. Not seen that employed before, but it certainly did the trick. And there's the mega shelves of like guild books. A row of Muth and Sixpennies complete set, from what I could see, which is fantastic. It's one of the ones I really love, the Muth and Sixpennies, and I've now found out I think there was 32 in all, which so much more than I thought. I'd only got some up into the early 20s. There are a few pulp magazines, no big runs of pulp in the collection at all. There just wasn't this time round. Just bits and pieces, really. And then, you got the Hutchinson Library and all their various offshoots, the Jackdaw and the Crime Society, Toucan books, loads of them, all of them, in fact. And we do start having a look through some of these in a while. You can see what we're looking at. Lots of cherry tree books. Huge run of those. And masses and masses of like Sexton Blake Library and things like that. Huge runs of it. There was a mixture of some like travel stuff and just nice old books. It wasn't all sort of British publishers who we might be familiar with, These are the Hutchinson books again. Obviously, sometimes it was a little tricky to actually film because we are in the basement of the house, and it wasn't like the most perfect lighting, but I've tried to adjust the picture as best I can, really. So these are Collins White Circle paperbacks. Now, I left the pink ones for Morris. I'd sort of felt I had enough already. I did pick up quite a lot of the westerns, and I picked up the crime that I was missing. By no means all of it, but I picked up what I was missing. And once again, nice to see a great run like that, and also lots and lots of services editions, which I love those. I've always loved service editions, so that was fantastic to get those. And they had a lot of the offshoots as well, which was great to get. Tough old series to collect, Collins White Circle, and the information out there is a bit spotty at best. More Hutchinsons now. There's sort of the main numbered series. Some of their guides and some of the pie books. That's the Crime Society and the Jackdaws. Yeah, good run of the Crime Society books. There's the Gerald's Jackdaw Library, which is all related to Hutchinson ultimately. So yes, many scarce books there. And more, they're all service editions, those thin little red ones. Lovely to see. I certainly didn't pick it all up, but I got a selection anyway. And these moving on to Chevron books now. I've never been a fan of those, really. I got one or two in my collection just as examples, but not really my thing. And then we got our run of toucans there, which I really like. Those are Mellifons. Little, very thin little digest ones. Loads and loads and loads of them. He made the most of his space. Those are all like cigar boxes. And all sorts of books. Yeah, the vintage holiday stuff and vintage travel stuff, I think they're really interesting, as a subject. Not sure about those. The Estate magazine, don't know what on earth that is. Something quite obscure, I think. These are more Sexton Blake Library, as you can see, lots and lots of them, hundreds of them, including some very, very early ones, indeed. Not something I've ever enjoyed, but they were there. More Hodder and Stoutons, Yellow Jackets, of which there was plenty. Now, that's where the penguins were. As I said, this is before Morris and I took any books off at all. So there was 3 bays where the penguin collection was housed. And I would estimate there was at least the first 1,000, maybe the first 1,500. Plus, I would imagine, because of all the other service editions, a very, very healthy run of Forces Book Club Prisoner of War issues and rarities, I would imagine. No doubt we will find out in the fullness of time. There's the Hodder and Stoughton run, the Yellow Jackets. Some of the Collins early paperbacks. Yes, quite the collection. I think you'll agree. Those spines there at the bottom were actually Rupert annuals. There's 4 or 5 wartime Rupert annuals when they were in softback as well. It's almost like he wanted to pick up deliberately the softback ones rather than the hardback stuff. It was paperback that was, well, I guess, it survived. It would struggle to survive more than hardback editions, which is why, generally, like the softback Rupert annuals are worth more than the hardbacks. They just haven't survived. Raphael's Almanac. I mean, little runs of these things are just incredible. You just never really see them. But evidently, Eric took the time to put a collection together himself. Whitaker's Almanacs. These are the Boardmans, the start of the Boardmans there. There was a really nice run of those. Not all of them by any means, but there was a nice run of them, including some of the very small ones. Three of the very small ones. Lovely run there. HMV and more music sort of catalogues. And a little penguin made out of a tusk of something. I left that behind. I didn't fancy that. But I did get a little clock, which is, I think, homemade. It's really nice. Daily Mail yearbooks from the 40s. Every sort of shelf you pull out, you're finding more and more stuff. I'll film you going through it.
I mean, we can wreck the order, can't we now, I think? That's normal isn't it? I don't think the order's crucial now to anybody. Whatever order you come in. But Williams Ale,
quite nice, aren't they? Yeah.
He did, there was, again, some with Heaves in. I mean,
it's a real mixture of stuff, genres and stuff.
He just collected them, then he didn't collect a particular type. No, that's a tough science fiction.
All right.
Another one, look at that now. How many people have got that one? Well, the Fourth Dimension, by the way.
Yeah.
Now, they're going to be written.
Very early, aren't they? Yeah.
War of the World. Lady Sleep Alone. Tempest Publications.
The Bandits there. Probably came from you.
A lot of them, I've just never seen it. I mean, it's
okay, yeah.
It's series that you know of, and you've had odd ones here and there. But obviously,
like an old book on metalcraft.
I know, yeah. That won't be quite the same bracket as the other ones, but Kiss of Youth. I mean, all these, they were a bit salacious at the time.
At the time, yeah.
Didn't say much. With a kind of a fantasy type.
Learning in the Jungle.
Author of the Cautious Amorist. Oh, not yet. Again, obviously the Cautious Amorist was his big book, because they've got everyone refers to the.
Very nice, yeah.
The Curate and Bohemia. It's
a nice little run, isn't it?
World travelled.
Wow.
Panther, a very early Panther.
Oh, right, yeah.
Another early Panther. I've seen it before. I didn't think it's any more common, but it's one I've had. I mean, some of these I've just never seen. Dreamer's Skull sounds a good title. John Russell Fern.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that'll be a tough one.
Flying Horseman.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a Western, but as far as Fern's concerned, anyway, he did obviously write in any genre, and the Golden Amazon was the zenith of his science fiction days. And Streamlines.
Oh, yeah.
again, some interesting Micklewright cover. But I mean, they did a lot of covers, Micklewright. In these, and the 30s hardcovers as well. Always good action shots from Micklewright.
These are all westerns.
Yeah, more Micklewright, Max Brand. Some authors we know of, other ones were Lost in the Sands of Time. It's a bit more interesting, this section.
Yeah, it's a bit. You have to sort of dig in sometimes, don't you?
You've got to see them because they look nothing, don't they? When
on spine on, you're right. Yeah, absolutely.
More. I mean, gangsters. These are proper gangsters. Well,
all right.
Romance, but I mean, we can class them as that. By the Roland Vane. Tony Danby, I don't know, but modern fiction and such like that. Phoenix Press. So that's quite early. That's the 40s. Again, these are Phoenix. He collected Phoenix, obviously. That's the
I see.
other one. Yeah. These are all Phoenix Press. So this was the Auction of Souls when the Turks massacred all the. What was it?
Yeah.
They massacred whatever it was.
Don't know.
I've forgotten now. Similar to the white slave trade, they were salacious areas, I think. And then we got more pearl.
Oh yeah.
Pearl covers. Nice ones. Bit ropey, but then again, what do you do? And obviously, this was obviously a tough book to get.
Yeah, it's got a coverless. Without a cover, yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it shows how. I mean, obviously they've been collected for years and years and years.
Yeah.
And some of these. They're just impossible to find.
I guess, yeah.
Oh, that's a bit more interesting anyway than
Okay.
the might at first look. And then some of these are Darcy Glintor, Gangster, no, we've got a man with a gun and a lady, voluptuous
double
lady.
double whammy.
That is,
that's what
classic
people are
gangster,
looking for.
classic
Yeah,
gangster.
I see.
Great condition.
That one is. Yeah.
You get people. Robin Hood's Press. 1947. So it's still quite early. You get people at one time who complain about the
rust.
The rust. You can't be that fussy. Yeah, westerns. Death, Phoenix, mysteries. All these things are scarce individually. I mean, some of these I've never had.
No.
Brute. Yeah. I mean, the romance really, but I think they were designed to appeal to both sexes.
All right. I see. Right. I see. Yeah, fair enough. Yeah.
I'm not sure whether it just appealed to females, that cover, whether it was meant to appeal to men as well. I suspect so. Yeah. It's one the 40s married couple could enjoy together. Gates of Life. Paul Reville. Bit saucy for the time, but she's in a classic pose, with,
she's
okay. With a vase. So,
it's all fine.
That's right, yeah.
I mean, if someone was looking for an odd one, chances are it could well be here, couldn't it?
I would think so.
A part of the run, because he's
I think
Eric's taken so long to get them.
Pretty much
decades, probably.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I have no idea when they've been collected for over 50 years.
Yeah.
So some of these he probably bought when they were new.
Possibly, yeah. Yeah, well, who knows? Yeah.
Yeah.
But lovely to see them. It's really, really nice.
Now, there's another one. These I've never seen before. I've seen Pendulum. The Pendulum.
Very
Orson Welles.
Oh, yeah.
Look, Pendulum films series. Scarce. Now, this look at that fantasy. Now, that's going to be a tough.
That's nice, isn't it?
Yeah. Popular Space Time series, whatever that means. Does that mean? Oh, it's Pulton Cross again. So it's Fern.
All right.
Yeah, it's Jonathan Fern again, the under one of his pseudonyms. Yeah. I also think the Pulton comes from Pulton near Cleveland in Blackpool. Right. I think maybe it does. The other one, which
another science fiction one. Yeah.
Great condition. I think well, again, it's a scarce individually, but I think at the time 1 or 2 did turn up, but I've never seen one for years.
No.
That's TJ, what's that? I don't know, Canadian, Australia. I know it's Manchester. Pemberton's. Yeah. Pemberton's. As you can see. Again, just more westerns. The genres, romance, westerns, science fiction, fantasy, sort of romance gangster type things.
Yeah.
And which I've not seen as yet was the Foreign Legion series, which
Foreign Legion, no, I haven't seen any.
no, I've not seen Foreign Legion. That was a sort of peculiar series that came out. Everybody had a go at it.
Yeah.
They're all different publishers.
Did some Foreign Legion books.
Had a go at them,
Yeah.
Just the thought there's sales out there. All because of Borges.
That's it, yeah.
The spin-off from Borges, yeah. Laughing Gangster. I'm not sure whether it's a Western. I think it's a Western. I think we can put that in the gangster category as such. But yeah.
Lovely. And we've now started very much pulling our bits and pieces out and filling the cars up. How are we getting on, Morris? Are we still smiling?
Right, yeah. There's a lot to go.
There is a lot to go.
A small proportion we've got so far. It is amazing.
Yeah.
The more you look at it, the more amazing it gets.
It is true. There's a lot here, isn't there?
Shells.
Yeah.
There's things you've just never seen before. I always wondered why. I think it's the further.
Oh, you found? Oh, were they the ones from the other side, or were they? Were they the? Was that the run? Was it?
Yeah, it's just part of the channel.
Right,
the relatively early ones. This
plain
came out
covers,
with the cover, the illustrated cover later on. In Cherry Tree, Kemsley newspapers, with a really nice copy, which is actually quite a valuable collectible book.
Yeah.
They came out first of all in these plain covers, the billboard covers.
Right, I see. Yeah. And now that's it. This is it. We have to load up as much as possible. So, I brought with me about 8 boxes or so, and I managed to get those filled up and a couple of carrier bags, and then I just started helping Morris load his boxes back into the van, and we got in what we could basically. So Morris certainly left with the van load, but we definitely didn't pick it all up. There's a second trip to be had. But you can just sort of see where we're at. There's the pans there. I didn't spend that much time on them, but they are exceptional condition. I think they're very, very good. And there was a lot of the scarcer ones in dust wrappers seemed to be there. But the run was complete, but it was like from 1 to about 125. But it did include all the early Agatha Christie's and things like that. They were all there. Nice little run. And this stuff here, we haven't even started looking through it. I mean, it's just still sat there because there is so many books to be picked up. So it's going to take a bit of time, and definitely a second trip in Morris's van to get the rest of it. But that's okay. But we filled up every box, every bag that we had. There literally was no receptacle left that could carry books. So we took what we could on the first day anyway. And as I said, a second trip will be required to pick up the rest of it, including all the stuff upstairs. So this is the next morning, and I didn't unload the car that night. And that's what I brought back. A few boxes of stuff and a couple of carrier bags. And over the course of the day, I slowly but surely unboxed it and started sorting it out. The first job, of course, was to get it all out of the boxes and bags. So I have, as you can see, speeded this up 3 times the speed, so I'm not really moving quite that quickly. But what I like to do in these instances is sort of sort everything out into what it is, like miscellaneous and the different publishers. And then because of time constraints and the fact that as I record this today, I bought this collection with Morris on Monday. Literally the same week on Friday, I'm off to buy some more books, if you can believe that. But it was a deal that was planned a couple of months back, and I do have to travel a little bit further up to Gloucester for this one. Gloucester Services, though, which is the greatest services in all of England. But I won't have time to actually process this lot, get any of it cleaned, or compare the copies against what I might or might not have in my own collection. Certainly in my White Circle paperbacks, the whole lot's going to have to come off, and I'm going to need to spend some time really going through it. It's a very, very difficult series to catalogue and to record, simply because the books aren't clearly marked as like first printings or reprints or anything like that. You need to really use the online reference tools that are out there, and even then they generally only cover the crime stuff, not much else. So you just have to sort of get a feel for the Collins books with regards what sort of printings they are and things like that. Good news is all the early ones came in wrappers. I think they're absolutely gorgeous, and so many services editions. I've never had so many services editions ever. Not in one hit, which is why I'm quite confident that the Forces Book Club ones in the Penguin collection must have been extensive. Now, there's 120 of those, and I don't know how many were there, but I would be tempted to say that if Eric might have had potentially over 100 of the 120, who knows? Hopefully the whole lot will be offered for public consumption, but we may never know how many were actually in there. Although I have got sort of Eric's notes, which his son gave me, and apparently he did keep very, very detailed notes of his collection. I've just not really had a chance to go through it yet, but that may well reveal the extent of what he had in the way of Penguin, Forces Book Club and POW issues and things like that. Once again, I didn't really see any foreign language ones, so maybe they weren't included in the collection, you know. Hard to know. Hard to know. But these are lovely, and as you can see, you know, the odd ones there, like the black thumb there, service edition. I mean, just great to have. I do love the service books, and for the Forces, just my favourites of all vintage paperbacks. Those Collins White Circle, they are really iconic, aren't they? I do love them. The ones I least like are actually the cerise ones, the pink ones, but potentially I would like to get those, since that's all I've got left now. Potentially I might see if I can do a deal with Morris and get the rest of those. These are the Dennis Wheatleys. So you see just to the right there, while I'm going through this, there was a homemade penguin clock. It's not a genuine piece of memorabilia, at least not to my knowledge. It just looks like a homemade one. But this is the run of the Dennis Wheatley books, which is really pleased to get those. And there was a couple of copies of The Bookman. These are from 1933 and 1934. Very, very similar to the Penrose Annual, which I've covered on the channel recently. It's like a printer's handbook with lots of samples and things like that, sample pages. Absolutely beautiful to go through. Once again, interestingly, in softback. What this says about Eric and the way he collected, I think it speaks volumes that these are in softback. One thing I was surprised I didn't see them at all was any copies of the Printing Review, since he evidently loved nice printed works. These are great. These are lovely. This is a set of cards which I believe tie into the Collins White Circle crime books. There they are on the back. There's the logo. I'm going to cover these in more detail. It does come with an instruction booklet as well, which is still in the box. So quite nice that. There's the penguin clock. Something a little bit more unusual, as I don't think it's genuine or official, but it's nice. This was also a nice find. So this was in with the Ephemera. This was just one of the Alan Lane Penguin Books Christmas cards, signed by Alan Lane on the front. And this one is John Piper's picture of Waterloo Bridge, I believe, from 1956. So really nice. That one's one I haven't got. I've got a couple of Alan Lane Christmas cards. That was one I didn't have. So that was very nice indeed. Now, these were just a few bits and pieces. There wasn't anything like the Ephemera catalogues and stuff that I was expecting. But these are quite nice. These are issues of like the early paperback collector magazines in the UK. PBO was one of them. I haven't got any of these. This is before I was collecting, but I just didn't know the scene existed. These are interesting. So these are some nice period bookmarks. Really nice ones from this sort of era. I don't mind picking up, particularly if they're book related, although that one isn't, but it's still really, really nice. I have a few of these already, and I do enjoy these. It's nice as well. The B.H. Smith's one, that very, very early. They're all like 30s and 40s. And then that's the stuff, PBO, and there was a Pan stock list there from 1986. That pile behind is all the stuff related to Eric's other complete collection of Penguin books, including loads of photos. So I literally have, as we record this, I've not gone through and looked at even all the photos yet, but it'll be something that I will do as a follow-up in one of my monthly pickup videos. There's the original Badger tracks compiled by Steve Holland, which has recently been updated with Beyond the Void. I heartily recommend you tracking a copy of that one down. It was my book of the year for 2024. And then, let's get these last few boxes out. I picked up a few Collins Crime Society ones, a bit more unusual ones, possibly service editions. Plus, I like Dennis Wheatley as an author, so nice to get the early paperbacks because they're usually harder to find. Loads of toucan. And these are quite nice as well. Hutchinson's free victory gift for the forces. They were all just ones given away, those ones there. There was the circle on the front. Never come across those before. Love them. Absolutely love them. And Guild books. Well, the amount of Guild book services editions. I have got some. Don't get me wrong. I've maybe got 10. Suddenly I've got almost 150. So, and all the missing regular Guild books I was after pretty much were there. So I reckon I will probably end up with a few doubles, but I got loads that I needed. And those sort of thinner ones rather than the digest ones are much, much harder to find. Those are Muthen services editions, also very, very nice and scarce. Oh look, and this is the run of the Muthen sixpennies. As I said, I'm confident it's the full set. I picked them all up, and I have got my own collection as well. Here's Rita coming in to see what on earth is going on. So she came by, said hello. She's very young, only 6 months. Her brother was nowhere to be seen, Dexter. Evidently, Rita was a fan of Collins' White Circle crime books. And what great taste she has. I love that one, Murder at the Bookstall. And I tell you what, those books, particularly the early ones, are beautiful. That is a 8th printing of Murder on the Orient Express, which is actually the first printing of that one. As I said, full of confusion. So here we go. So that's all the boxes unpacked. And now what we're going to do is just take a few minutes to have a little last look round the collection, such as it is. As I had it all out, and as I said, I didn't go mad. I didn't buy it all. It was, I was just there helping Morris out, really. But Morris is the place to go. So by the time you see this, he would have got back. He would have got a fair bit of his collection that he bought all sorted out, and it's time to start sending Morris a few emails. Now, don't forget, he's got the website, allyouneedisbooks.com. paperback.com. So head there first of all. But if there is something in here, not what you're looking at now, but something that you saw, in the collection that Morris has picked up, then just drop him a line. Maybe you don't need to wait until it goes onto the website. It depends how organized he is, but there's where to get it, who's got it, and that's the place to look out for. Now, while we're talking about Morris, we are also planning to have another paperback book show at Morris's warehouse in Wiltshire, Dilton Marsh in Wiltshire. So do look out for that in February. It will be a Sunday in February. So a bit of advance warning. It's definitely going to go ahead. And it'll be a chance to visit Morris's warehouse as well. And I shall definitely be there myself. And just look at all that loveliness. Absolutely fantastic. I just love this stuff. It was a very fun day out. I just had to get it all processed pretty much in a day because my next day off is off to pick up yet another collection. Only 17 boxes. It's a mere bagatelle. Yes, very, very nice indeed. Absolutely love it. Can't wait to get in and start cleaning them and sorting them out. Lovely. Fantastic stuff. Those coloured ones are some early Collins as well, those ones there. Brilliant. I love it. And I did get a few penguins. There you go. Even if they are reprints. And there's the albatrosses, such as they were. So there you go, quite the collection, I think you'll agree, and I'm going to have a lot of fun over the next few months sorting through some of the stuff which is inevitably going to be doubled up, and moving on my spares to other collectors. But certainly I'm really pleased that I got that small little bit of Eric's collection, because it really is something quite special. If you've enjoyed today's video, do please give it that thumbs up. Do please hit the subscribe button if you've not already for regular vintage paperback coverage, and I'll look forward to seeing you again very soon. Bye.